Today on the Riff, Jeremy and Justin riff about Justin being on staff for 15 years. They also talk about the lack of hugs that Jeremy gives out. Sad. We hope today is hopeful. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to another episode of The Riff. I am thrilled you're here. Justin?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here because our topic today...
Yeah.
What's your middle name?
Robert.
Justin Robert Glenn. The last 15. That's the topic today.
Like my last 15?
Yeah.
Or previous 15?
No, we're going to talk about
like
your last 15 minutes.
That's going to be special.
No, we're talking about the last 15 years of your life. We are doing a Justin Robert Glenn tribute today on The Riff. Why? Because the people demand it. Second why? Because I wanna. So I'm thrilled. So Justin, I'm going to give a little context.
First off, I'm looking around the room.
Yeah.
I don't see any balloons.
Not yet.
What?
Not yet.
Are you saying drop? Like a balloon drop?
No. I didn't say anything about the future. I just said like currently.
Oh, yeah,
it's
there's not
yet.
any.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. That's I'm just looking around. Okay, keep going. Keep going. No, keep going.
It's gonna be a special day. If
Okay,
you're listening,
all right.
If you don't know Justin, I feel like you're going to. Justin has played a very important role here at North Point for many years. This is also not Justin's swan song either. So it's not your funeral. This isn't I thought about calling this a Justin Glenn Memorial episode, but then I don't know.
I feel like that gives it a bit of a darker tone.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And then
it does.
Brings up some questions for me.
It certainly does.
Wait, what?
It certainly does. So this is a tribute.
Okay.
The tribute.
Okay.
The tribute episode. Because the other day, so we have a sabbatical policy.
We do.
Okay? And so it's been going around an employee sabbatical policy. We have, a 7-year, we have a time to celebrate, 10-year time to celebrate. And we have one of our employees who is hitting 10 years. And so I was just looking at the policy and the handbook and saying, okay, hey, how do we get this all scheduled? And then I noticed there's a 15-year one in there. And I thought, surely no one's been here 15 years. So I messaged HR. Mm-hmm. You know what HR told me?
What HR say?
They said, the day I messaged them, they said, as a matter of fact, now that we look, because I said, how long has Justin been around here? When's he at 15? They looked, and according to the records, the previous day was your 15-year anniversary.
That is...
Two things struck me at that moment.
What were they?
Number one was, I can't believe I didn't say happy 15 work anniversary to you.
I was shocked that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really...
And then the next thing was, oh my word, 15 years? That's a long time. That's a long time. And so here's what I thought. Well, we gave you a bundt cake. Did you bring the bundt cake today?
I didn't bring it today. No, it's not here.
Have you tasted the bundt cake yet?
It's I wasn't home at all yesterday.
You ingrate.
I know. You just gave it to me. I just got it.
2 days ago.
I just got it.
2 days ago.
It's still packaged.
Yeah, but we already bought it when it was 1 day from expiring. We got it half off.
Well, that's just stewardship. That's just stewardship.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that. I cannot argue.
No. And so you got to eat that quickly. I hope it's refrigerated. But nothing bundt cakes is a phenomenal
delicious
way to commemorate someone's 15-year anniversary.
True.
And so you didn't bring it. I wondered, do I bring balloons on that, or is that you? And I thought it was
I should have brought balloons. Yeah, I should have brought balloons.
I didn't want to upstage the employee.
That's on me.
That's on you. But I did feel like let's just like take a whole episode, and I want to talk about your perspective over 15 years at North Point. So here's what I want you to do.
Okay.
I'm not going to go the whole 5 questions.
Okay.
But I want to start with one.
Okay.
How in the world, we know how long you've been at North Point.
15 years.
But let's even go further. How long were you at North Point prior to being on staff at North Point?
We were here 3 years before I got on staff.
Now, we've talked about this a little bit in episodes, but what brought you to the doors of North Point? This was at the Springfield campus. At the time, it was a singular campus church.
One site.
It wasn't the theater. It was on Norton Road,
They
correct?
had just moved into the what is now the Kids Auditorium at Springfield.
Okay.
So that was it.
So you were married at the time?
Nope.
You weren't?
No.
Oh, I had that pegged in my mind. How long have y'all been married?
No, 18. Well, we'll go on 18.
Okay.
So we were dating. We were together, but we weren't married.
So you were dating at the time, and church shopping, or was church a new thing not new thing, but
we were
tell me about
we were church shopping. Jamie has a really dark past, right? I mean, just dark. So she was in a goth metal band.
Yeah. No, I could sense that.
And
yeah.
She grew up at James River. So
whoa,
I know.
Even darker. Just kidding. Shout out John Debbie. Just kidding.
So I did not grow up there. I grew up Episcopalian. I think we've talked about that. So they're just two completely different setups on how you do church.
Okay.
And to her, church was like a daily thing, in and out. I was very compartmentalized. Yeah. So she's very into it, and I am like, hey, I love spirituality. I really dig Jesus, but as far as like practicing the way and making sure that it's an intentional aspect of my life, I wouldn't say I was there. Right. Like Jamie definitely moved me along.
Yeah.
Even when we started dating, way back when, I ended up getting a mentor because I'm like, listen, if I'm going to give this girl, I got to up my game. Like I got to become intentional with some things that I already believe in, but now I have to apply to my life.
Like a spiritual mentor or life mentor?
Spiritual mentor.
Wow.
And he was a Calvinist.
Okay.
So I learned a ton about the Bible, but probably a lot of other things as well that were pretty, I feel like looking back on it, pretty closed-minded and pretty mean. He was great though. It was great. But so we're talking, hey, we're going to get married, and we're like, we got to find a church.
Which, side note, a lot of people probably know this, but there's so many different expressions of churches. And so, sometimes people think, oh, you love Jesus, I love Jesus, that's great. But if you value worshiping at the same place, that's a journey. And so you can have a very celebratory experience.
Right.
Like, North Point could be that, James River could be that. A lot of people's expression. You can have a very contemplative one, probably Anglican
100%
background. You can have a very ritualistic one, Catholic, and they all could be very meaningful, but they're very different. And if something's meaningful and you tie your expression of how you worship to it could become really scary.
Yes.
That's what we tease
and that's
about.
what became, that's the situation with the mentor.
Okay.
Because the whole Calvinist thought process, I mean, I'm telling you, I learned a ton, but there was a close-handedness to him specifically that made it mean.
And it can lead to arrogance. Like, this is the right way. Anytime we say we validate our expression.
Right.
And so I want to be careful to make sure we know North Point is an expression. We like it. That's probably why we're here. Yeah. But it's one of many beautiful expressions.
For sure.
But when you become arrogant,
it's not great.
And so you got a little arrogance in you back then?
Yeah.
With it?
Yeah, I did.
So did that make you more attractive for the cause?
I would say less. Yeah, I'd say less. I had a roommate, best friend forever. Like a brother to me. I kicked him out of the house because
tough love.
Yeah, I got to show him the love of Jesus.
Yeah.
Because you don't smoke weed in my house. You don't bring those girls here.
No.
I mean, I used to but not now. Like, this is, no. Nope. This is you are.
Relief.
You get out of here. I'll stay here, but you get out. And it literally it was during COVID that's when we actually reconnected. I called him so many times, apologized so many times. He never called back. And then for some reason, he ran into my mom and dad at Costco. And
love Costco.
And then called me after that. I was like, hey, man. And so anyway, that didn't really help anything.
So how did that impact your relationship with Jamie?
I saw okay, we got to find a place that isn't that, right? Because the goal isn't theory. The goal isn't to know this or to know that. The goal is love. The goal is to show Jesus to people. And she did that so well. I've said this story, I think maybe on this podcast. I had a crazy tragedy happen in high school. I was horrible to Jamie. I was just I was super funny in high school, but at the expense of others.
Yeah.
So I was like, So and she was one of them. But man, I was funny. I was funny, just a jerk. But when that happened, she was the only and the first one that left a note in my locker that just said, "Hey, just thinking about you. I hope you're okay." And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna marry her. So Yeah. So she's just got a spirit
on
about
thinking, on the eye.
It had a heart.
Thinking, it had a heart.
With an arrow through it.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I know.
It's a little clue.
And there were, and it smelled like her perfume.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Or my cologne. I couldn't
It was her
tell, but
grandma's.
it was-
She just like, hey.
So we end up dating. We get together after like in college and come from these two different spaces of spirituality, religion, and we went to a lot of different churches.
Okay.
So we went to.
There's a lot in this town.
There's a couple. There's a couple, and every Sunday you can go to a different one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 6 years.
Yeah, it's
There's almost 300 churches for real.
it's true. So we try multiple. We find a couple that we really like. And North Point was one of them.
Okay.
And it just kept speaking to us because it really did bring both worlds together in a way that no other place did for us.
Yeah.
So it brought this like her side of how she grew up and this expressive, loud, vibrant, fun, energetic style to it, but also brought this like very caring, social justice focused, like everyone matters and we're going to be judged for the people who we bring into this place. And it just melded it all together, which just felt right for us. So we're like, I think this is going to be where we go. So I started volunteering. So we went maybe 4 weeks.
Okay.
And then Jamie was like, all right, well, we don't just go, we volunteer. I'm like, oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, she's like, so what are you doing? I'm like, is it a parking lot? I'm going to do the parking lot. And she was like, oh, yeah, great. So I served in the parking lot.
Really? So would you wear like a reflective vest?
Of course, I don't want to get hit.
No, you don't.
Yeah, safety first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Craig Foster was the name of the leader of that.
Really?
Yeah. And I served there for.
Were you spinning a sign like a mattress? Because that's not what you did in high school.
No, I had a baton. Would it be a baton?
I don't know. I wasn't in a show choir.
Like a.
Probably. Did it have glitter on it?
Yeah, it did.
Baton.
It did. Yeah, it was a baton. So you would twirl it.
Yeah.
And then you'd bring the car in.
Give
Give him a nice wave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give them a smile. Send them on their way.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you met some people you're serving.
Yeah. So they were all older than me. Because it was like a men's group of like 40, 50-year-old men. So it wasn't
Did
like.
they let you into their fold?
Not really. So I think there was like a lodge that I never went to. I don't know, but they were kind. And then they started doing some production stuff, and I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. Like, I could help out with this if they're going to do it like this. So then I was like, hey, I could program whatever you need. And they're like, okay. So then I came in and did, and they're like, oh, hey, you want to help? I was like, sure, I'd love to. And then just stayed in.
Okay, now I know community was a big part of it early on for you guys. You guys got involved in groups. How'd that happen?
Huge. We got married, had a really rough first year of marriage. Shocker, I was pretty, I was still kind of a jerk.
I can't even picture that.
So weird. Really selfish. And marriage like brought a ton of stuff out, specifically in me. And we had a really, really hard year. And I was still traveling at the time because I toured with my dad.
Was this part of the circus stuff?
Yeah, so I was a trapeze artist.
Yeah.
And he was my catcher. So he owns a production company. So I would tour with him, travel with him. We would do festivals during the summer. So on the summer, I was never home. So I was gone like 200 some odd days out of the first year that we were married.
Would you say that helped?
I'd say it hurt. Yeah, I'd say it hurt. Okay. Yeah. And it was just tough. Second year, very similar. So then I'm like, hey, I'm gonna not travel and I'm only do shows in Springfield. Shocker, not a lot of shows in Springfield, Mo. So I didn't make a ton of money. So then I started substitute teaching. I took an arborist job, and then I also did handyman work. It was like just the weirdest year ever.
Okay.
Yeah. I was doing an arborist job, and it was with a buddy of mine that rigs for festivals now, and we had a ladder. This is a random story, but we had a ladder on the top of a roof that we were cutting limbs down, like to get off.
Because that's what arborists do. They work with trees.
And then I'm getting the ladder down. We have a ladder topper on it to go against windows, so it doesn't go through the window.
No, honestly, there's probably a story
and
behind the first one.
Ladder hit the ladder topper, and the ladder topper comes down, hits me in the head. And it splits my head completely open.
So you're telling me those won't go through a window, but they will go through a skull?
They will go through a skull.
Okay.
So it's like crazy. So we get to the hospital, and this is the kind of like situation that we're in. And they're like, it's going to take 14 staples to put your skull back
Good
together.
governor.
And I'm like, okay. And they're like, okay, so get the pain medication out. We'll numb it. And I was like, wait, how much is that? Because we don't have insurance. And they're like, it's like about a $400 probably dollar bill. I'm like, just staple my head, man.
No. Give me a stick.
So we literally, and then they ran out of staples in the middle of it. Anyway,
14's a lot.
14's
I don't know
a
what
lot.
I don't know what a sleeve of staples is at a hospital. I would guess 8 to 10.
But at that point, that was the point where I'm like,
Wait, time
probably,
out.
what?
That's a workplace injury, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's a situation. So every time we talk about shaving my head, because I'm losing my hair, I'm very concerned.
See, no, that makes a lot more sense.
I'm
Thanks for
very
sharing that,
concerned.
because I
Yeah,
would
you're
say
welcome.
get a toupee now. Because no one wants to see that, man. That's gnarly.
So that day, I'm like,
old cheap man. I'd pay $400. We're going to do a GoFundMe right now, so we have to look at that. Come on, man.
so that day I thought, I probably want to do something different. This is probably not going to work out. So we decided to move to Nashville, and we ended up not moving to Nashville. So the North Point at the time, I was volunteering, and they said, hey, do you want to work here instead of move to Nashville? I'm like, I don't want to work at a church. Like,
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do at all. Like, that's never been something in my brain. I don't want to do that. And they're like, all right, well, we'd love to have you. So then Jamie and I sat down, we did a pros and cons list, and we're like, we'll give it a year.
The old Benjamin T. Franklin.
The old Benjamin T. Franklin. Learned
Benjamin
that from
Franklin
you.
T.
Franklin T. The
Yeah,
T chart. There it is. So yeah, then we did a pros and cons list and thought, we'll give it a year. We'll give it a year. Which is also a big deal because I told Jamie we would move and then we didn't. So that was also something in our first couple of years that I'm like, I'm going to probably tell the truth or not say something that we're not going to do. I should probably be a little bit more intentional with that. So that's how we ended up at North Point. We volunteered a ton, got on staff, and then as we're on staff, we got involved in a group, which is your original question. So this is a 10-minute way to get there.
No, don't shortchange me.
And that group changed our life. So I remember sitting in our kitchen and looking at each other. They had this stupid thing called Connect Me at the time. It was like a speed dating.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was so dumb. But it worked. It worked in the time, right? So they had this thing coming up. And we're like, we got to go. So we planned on going. We're sitting in our kitchen. And I so vividly, this is a core memory of sitting in our kitchen, looking at each other, eyes locked. And I'm like, I don't want to go. And she's like, me either. I was like, let's not. So we start making dinner. And for some reason, literally at the same time, we put everything down and we're like, let's go. We're like, okay. It was bizarro. It's obviously spirit pieces to that and very much God led, but there was a definite moment where it was just a change for us. We show up and then we meet the Cogswells. So we do all of these little speed dating rounds. And
Dan and Patty were one of the first people we met when we came here
Love
too.
them. So
Good
we end up at all these tables, and then the table that you're at last is your group. It was the weirdest thing. So we literally sit at the table because we're trying stuff out. You're meeting people, and you have a time limit. And then when the time limit ends, the people you're with is your group. That's it. It was
That gives me anxiety.
it was the most bizarre thing. So we end up at this table and we're looking at each other and we're like, this is not it. This is not it. We can't be here. Because they were, I'm sure, great people. They were kind, awesome.
Names, please.
I don't know their names. But when we were meeting everybody, there was one guy, and the only question he asked, everybody's asking these questions about the Bible. Everybody's questioning this. What do you think of this? What do you think of this theological thing? There's one guy in the room, and he asked, if you were an animal, what would you be? And that was Dan Cogswell. And I'm like, I want to go to that. I want to go to that table. I want to go back to that guy. Well, let's go back there. Time's up. So we slowly slid our chairs away from that table, didn't even say anything to them.
Yeah.
And then just turned around at Dan and Patty's and we're like, hey guys. And they just were like, hey. So we broke the rule a little bit, but ended up in their group. And,
What was it?
It's called Dinks.
No, the animal.
Oh, mine was a meerkat at the time. Yeah.
I love how you, at the time, because you.
Oh, it's seasonal.
No, we grow.
We grow. We evolve, man. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Whole different meaning.
No.
So what is it now?
I'd say more of I want to say a lion. I want to be a lion.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think so. I would probably say I'm more of a giraffe. Wow. Yeah.
What's your favorite worship song? I can't think of anyone with a giraffe in it, but like there's a lion in these bones or something like that. What was that song? We sing something that's got a lion that makes us roar.
Lions and bones.
God, I love you! Roar! Get this out of my bones! It's a lion. I'm a lion. You love that too? I love
that's
it.
good, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
Meerkat's good.
Yeah, thank you.
So, okay, so you were probably on staff. How many years were you on staff with Tommy, who planted the church? You're not familiar with North Point?
4. Is that right?
Okay.
I think that's right. 3?
Yeah.
I've
been here 11.
You've been here 11, so I was here for 4 years with him.
So, so there's been so many different seasons of North Point.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Here's a question. What's something that was obvious then that you were like, man, if I look back, I still think that's there?
You mean like something that stayed consistent, or something that that we're not tapping into currently?
Something that you're like, no, I think this was part of the DNA then, and it's still part of the DNA. But then I probably want to go to that one.
We're gonna be judged for the people who we bring into this place.
Okay.
There's not a doubt that has changed.
Yeah.
Like through the entirety of our journey. What
does that mean? What does that mean?
It means that North Point really is like we are focused on bringing people into these doors that no other church would want. And like being for real about it. And we talked a lot about in the last episode of like your values don't mean a ton. They're not really values unless they cost you something. And I've seen it over and over where it's cost us things as churches, and then being close to you, I've seen it cost you things of conversations that you've had to have, or people that have been mad at you, or it's just, it's such a cool thing to watch and to be a part of, to know that we really are on mission. And that's never changed. It's never been different. It's just like, that's who North Point is. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, well, that's the rock and roll church when we first started going there. And it wasn't because of the loud music, it was because of the attitude. And the attitude was a rock attitude of like, no, we're gonna reach people that you're not. I promise you that. And that has never gone away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so the legends of North Point. So I was in a cohort with pastors, of which Tommy was in this cohort before I came to North Point. So my only experience in North Point was there, and he would share some of these flyers about North Point, like different events that were like awesome, crazy things that I'm like, I don't know anybody who's ever, or a church that's done these things. So there's the legend when I come in, and even now you'll hear sometimes like some of the legends is some of the things that were pulled off back in the day, specifically production. It was very production. I don't know if a week in and week out production heavy, but certainly that was a big marketing, a big way to evangelistic way to reach people. What is something that you look back and you're like, that was way over the top, and it was actually pretty cool?
We would always say, and we literally used this one year about Easter, how it will blow your freaking mind.
That's one of the the mailers that I saw.
Yeah.
I blow your freaking mind.
I hope it does. It's kind of like, as we talk about story, it's not really the guide, it's more of a hero. But yeah, I mean, that kind of a thing, I think in that time, 15 years ago, 14 years ago, I think did speak to people that weren't part of church.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Guitars and loud music and lasers and smoke and pyro and all this kind of crazy stuff was never in a church. And it was so like,
give me an example of how that stuff was used.
In every way. We'd have fire everywhere. We'd have lasers everywhere. And when we went multi-site, it definitely changed a lot of stuff.
It's tougher to do that at the Dream Center campus. We turn the lights off. We have a laser pointer.
Sweet job. Nice, Andy. Yeah. So it was, it changed that.
It's going crazy.
But when we're one site, I mean, we would have 3 services on Saturday and 4 to 5 on Sunday for just the weekend. Wow. And it was just this crazy production, right? Yeah. And it spoke to people though at the time, and it's methods, and that's not what we're married to. And when we even speak about methods today, it's not bashing somebody that is doing that method still, but you look at it and you see churches now look like that.
Yeah.
Like that's what churches look like. So now the question is, okay, if that's what church looks like, the person that has been to church and it doesn't work for them, what are they looking for? What are they actually searching for? It's probably not that, which we used to do, right? So I'm not against that. I'm just against that for now.
Yeah. Which is funny is I promise, like all of us as leaders, we will get attached to whatever method we're currently using and people will know us as that. But, even those who helped create that, whether on the production team or even lead pastor roles, is all of us changed so much that methodology would be, what made it cutting edge then would make whatever now cutting edge. So for us, we want to be the people of what is most effective to reach our target now.
For sure.
And so I love that. Okay, so walk me through, 15 years. Tell me a time where you almost quit.
Multiple.
Pick your favorite.
All right, my favorite
one to share.
My favorite one to share is when you came.
Okay.
Like it's just the transition. It's a time of transition, right? And the staff.
Do you remember when we met for the first time?
At the airport.
At the airport.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so awkward.
It's very awkward.
Very awkward. I told someone about that this last week. Let me give my perspective. I'm like, I'd never been here. So I show up, but I have the jobs. It's not like I'm showing up for an interview.
Right.
And I am like, I'm an introvert. So I love control. And so showing up, the nicest thing ever was a surprise party that the entire staff shows up at the airport. And I don't know if you've been to the Springfield Roy Blunt terminal. It's huge. And so it felt a little overwhelming. And then I felt this anxiety of now I've got to I got to say hi. I think I said hi to the first couple of people and asked their name. And now I'm committed. I have to ask like all 28 of you right now your name. And it was awkward.
It was really awkward.
Was it just awkward for you guys?
Yeah. Because we're gonna go support him. Like, we don't know him. Like, what do you mean? Like, he's not gonna be excited. He's not gonna be like, they're here. Justin's here.
Oh crud! Oh crud! Smile. Look interested.
You guys just went through a really traumatic thing. Yeah. Awesome, cool, awesome. I'm glad I'm here. But that season, I almost quit. That was one for sure. I almost quit 2 times before that. It was a pretty hard environment to be in, but also I came from hard environment, so it wasn't like whatever. Like let's roll, and if we're gonna reach people, let's do it. Yeah. It's just kind of refreshing now that being with you this long, seeing that you can still do that exact thing, and it not be a tough environment. It's just it's a different aspect. But when you came, there's for sure we did another T chart. Okay, so we said let's pros and cons this out with this guy we know of Jeremy. We've looked at a couple East Lake things. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's the church I came
from. Interesting. I like it, but there's some things interesting. But we're like, man, we did the exact same thing, and we're like, there's more pros than cons.
We're going to Nashville.
Yeah, and we said we'll give it a year. So that was, and then the question of that, even like as we got into that year and you just see staff changing, it's just a normal thing when a leader takes over or inherits a business, a corporation, a church, a whatever entity it is, that you're inheriting a staff.
Yeah.
So then there's like a season, probably about 2 years in, where I'm like, does he even want to inherit me? Like, I think he's just a nice guy. Like, I don't even, like, I want to make sure that if he's going to have me on this team, I'm going to bring worth to it. So then it's kind of like, I should probably just bow out at this point, because I don't want him to be like, hey man, I really like you, but
I just don't know how to bring it up.
I don't. So that was almost, and then I just thought, you know what, whatever. I like being here. I like learning from him, and if he wants me out of here, he can tell me. So that's whatever. So those are the main times that I really thought about quitting.
Okay, so now you oversee so much of our organization, and specifically all of our central services, our strategies, our systems, which includes facilities and buildings and properties and campuses and Next. And so, I mean, the two of us, while we work with a larger team, work so closely together. And I have found you to be very, very skilled in helping us as an organization being complex, bring predictable patterns and behaviors and culture to our organization, to be able to help us know, is this a time where we can grow and go forward? And then if so, how do we go for it? One of the best things, the most valuable things I feel like you brought as far as what you do, has been the Nixa campus. I had probably annoyingly very little to do with the Nixa campus on this, because we had worked together a long time by then, to be able to trust you to say, okay, hey, here's the budget. Here's what we want. I think this is how it's going to impact the mission, and run with it. And what was that process like of watching that go from property purchased to wait through COVID to build this thing? And you did it. I mean, we had some great people we worked with H Design, with Snyder, and some staff who helped make it happen. But on time, in budget. That's a big weight. Did you feel that weight? How did that happen?
I didn't feel the weight until we got the numbers back. So I had a budget. I'm like, yeah, that's great. And then you get the numbers back from Snyder and H Design, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, this will never happen. So, so yeah, it was a heavy weight, but it didn't feel suffocating at any time because the team is incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, unreal when you give somebody a challenge. The way that they respond to it, especially when they're a good team member, is just so fun to watch. So I never ever felt like, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do. It was just fun to see people be like, we could do this. We could do this. What about this? How about this? What's this? Have we thought through this? It was just awesome to see like an ER and an April just step up and say, hey, I think we got to change these things around. Danina at the time, Lisa steps in. Like there's just people, right? And that's what made it fun. And then I was able to learn a ton of stuff. I mean, I had done projects. I did every project with North Point in some capacity that when we built or remodeled. So I had knowledge of it, but never to that scale. That was the first ground up building that we had done since the Springfield build, which was before me. Yeah. So that part of it was heavy, where I'm like, I'm going to have to learn a ton of stuff, but I love that kind of stuff. And I really loved learning that I really like it. And I'm like, this is fun. This is a fun deal. And it moves the mission forward.
Oh,
and
crazy.
It moves the needle. And now we're able to see double the people at Nixa.
Every week.
Now the thing is like, hey, we're at a room at Nixa. Yeah. Which I'm like, what a beautiful problem, right? And then we're going to figure it out. We will figure it out. But it's just such a cool issue to have, knowing where we were with that, where it was already like, man, we got to have a building. We're busting at the seams. People are coming. They're meeting Jesus. They're seeing it. They're climbing the tree and they're seeing him type of deal. It's just a fun deal to see, man.
I remember we talked shortly after, the big opening and whatnot. When the dust settled, I remember you said, man, I just loved that project and I'm ready for another one.
Love it.
And I thought, well, that's good because we're a multi-site church. And matter of fact, we're right now, where even today we'll have more meetings and there's always opportunities for that. But it's also funny when I talk to people who they get closer to, the North Point between the Sundays, right? Between the weekends. And they get to know who we are and all this stuff. And they'll be like, man, you and Justin, you guys are very different. Like, yes.
Yeah.
We're absolutely locked in on the mission, the vision, the purpose, and the respect. And then the gifts that you have, the background you have, the mind you have is so necessary for me to be able to hang out in the gifts that I have. And, so like for me, I just feel, man, you are such a gift to North Point. You have been such a gift to North Point. Hands open. I always have, but every day you're at North Point, it's a win for us, for this vision. And so as we celebrate 15 years, at first when people were like, when they heard I was going to get a bundt cake, and Leanne was like, I don't know, is that good? Should we? What if just write a card? And I thought, no, I think a bundt cake's in order. Yeah. And I don't, me, no, I don't throw out bundt cakes to just anything.
I've never seen you give one out.
No, this is my first bundt cake I've ever had outside of me. Sometimes I will do it. For me, I don't expect you guys to remember my accolades, so I buy them. But, as we celebrate and we think about this the last 15 years, I'm like, man, what a gift you've been in every place you've touched, but specifically now in your role as an organization and impacting so many of what we do. Thank you for what you're doing. I know it's a family deal. I'm not sure if Jamie's a Riff listener. I know your girls are. But
the girls are for sure.
Yeah.
They've got t-shirts, but
Yeah.
Jamie says she's not. And every time I come home, I'm like, hey, did you listen to this? And she's like, I don't listen to that. But last time I saw her phone when it was sitting on the counter, you know what podcast it was on?
Yeah.
It wasn't the Riff.
No.
But if you look back a couple, she had listened to the Riff at least once.
So Jamie, thank you. I know this is a whole family deal, but and I feel encouraged that you just signed the new 15-year contract. So, and you did the Patrick Mahomes thing. You restructured everything.
I know.
Kept us under the cap.
I know.
That's awesome, man. So thank you for that commitment. But
hey, listen, I want to say thank you to you and Leanne and the girls as well, because we've come a long way from that T-chart that we had of pros and cons of, is this going to work out? I've learned so much from you. I continue to learn so much from you. And I really do believe 15 years doesn't happen, A, on accident, or B, for sure. I'm not the type of person that I'm just like, I'll just stay here because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
You've made it enjoyable and you've made it life-giving. And I love having you as a leader.
Oh, my word. Are they...
I know.
Are they bringing me a
They're
bun
bringing
cake?
you a Wait, I don't think they came today. I didn't know we were doing the 15 thing today. I had said we were probably going to do it in a week or so. They'll get you one though.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You guys, thanks for letting us have a little hug fest here on the podcast.
Oh, last thing.
Yeah.
Jeremy Johnson's never hugged me.
I still never hugged you.
Yeah.
You would have thought 15 years would have been it.
No.
Here, let me ask you this question. Are you a hugger?
I am a hugger. Yeah.
Do you know the Disney rule?
What's the Disney rule?
The Disney rule is the characters are supposed to be the last to let go.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I don't hug.
What?
Because I've got Disney in me. And it gets awkward. And I'm not the guy that wants to be the weird, I'm not letting go. Because I'm afraid we'd still be hugging right now. Here's the deal. Once you unbottle this, oh my word, you're going to wish you could put this genie back in the bottle. It ain't happening.
I'm just saying that we office together. We've never hugged. It's never been a thing.
I think it's because we office together.
It's because
once we hug. Okay, let's just say it this way. When I told Leanne I loved her for the first time.
Yeah.
Like I had never told any human being in my life that I loved them before. Okay. Sorry, mom and dad. Like at the time I had it. Maybe I had, but never like a girl. And to me, I'm like, this is a big deal. I need to get this out of my heart because it's there. I love you. Then the next time we were at class and we were going to different classes on our campus, I would see her at lunch in 51 minutes. And she said, I love you. And all of a sudden I'm like, what did I do? I've never told anybody in my life I've loved them. And now you're wanting me to do it on the second day in a row? Like, is that our new thing? Every time like you leave the room, I got to say I love you. And it was just like, and so that, and now I'm good at it. I say I love you all the time. I'm like, I love you, love you, I love you. But that's why I think about with you. If we hug for the first time, what if we love it?
What?
And what if then it's like, hey, Jeremy, I got a meeting. I'm not going to be back till after lunch. I'm like, okay, now I have to stand up awkwardly from my desk and hug you because I don't ever want to make the statement that I don't like you as much as I liked you before. That's the only reason I haven't hugged you yet because I'm afraid to know how often I'm going to start hugging you.
Here's the deal. When I talked about still learning from you, this is the wisdom that I need because this will get us further in life.
Yeah.
This is good.
I like it. Hey, if you're still listening, thanks. We're logging off. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.